Well, staying at home this spring, like a lot of us have been doing, I tried various things to pass the time. And one of the things I did was I strung up a clothesline in my backyard. I had to use a lot of YouTube videos though, but I got it done. And then there was this utility closet, and I got some new shelves put in. I reorganized. That looks a lot better than it did before. And then there was this whole Yahtzee thing. I got into playing Yahtzee and it got really boring. So I made up my own rules. And if you want to see the rules, you're welcome to. Just get a hold of me. And meal planning, I tried that for a while. But really, the meal planning ended up being home beer delivery. Now, home beer delivery is a good thing. And I highly recommend it. And I think that's something I will keep doing at the well after this is all over. But anyways, that's what I all did at the end. What I did at the beginning, I was freaking out early April like everybody else. And I went up and down Grove Street. I went up and down Avenue A, and I looked at the houses. I went to the houses on each side and left my contact information with them. And I thought that, we could generate a database so that we'd all have somebody to talk to if we needed to talk to, if we needed to go to the grocery store, we had somebody to help us out, all that kind of stuff. And, it worked out okay, fortunately. Nobody spammed each other every day, or there wasn't a whole lot of consternation being shot out every which way. And I sort of hope that once this is all over, we'll have a network that we can use, a little neighborhood get together or something like that. Well, anyways, I got this letter in my mailbox, the regular mailbox. I got this letter, and it didn't have a stamp on it, but the Postal Service, they're essential workers for a reason. They had figured out where I lived. And in this letter, it was a letter from an 8-year-old boy who's one of my neighbors. And I didn't even know I had an 8-year-old boy as a neighbor, for that matter. And in there, he talks about his friends and how he misses these friends. He talks about his pets and the sports that he would like to be doing. And he draws these little pictures, And it's just so remarkably cute. And so I turned the page over, and on the other side of the page, this is what it said. Now, if you're not, I'm crying now, and you will be too. If you like this story, my name is David. Please donate to Hubbard Hall Performing Center for the Arts in Cambridge, New York. Thank you. Bye.
While staying at home this spring, I strung a clothesline in my backyard with lots of help from YouTube tutorials. I put up some extra storage shelves in my utility closet, much needed. I played so much Yahtzee that I came up with new rules that I think are better. If you want to know, contact me after the video. I got really good at meal planning, and I tried for the first time home beer delivery. Gotta say, I'm a fan of that. Now, none of that happened early on in this. It all happened a little bit later in April when I got stir crazy. However, one of the things I did do early on is that I did some neighborhood canvassing, and I walked a handful of doors down my street, a handful of doors up my street on both sides of the street, and I left notes with my contact information that encouraged neighbors to share their contact information. And ultimately what we ended up with was a database of about 8 or 9 separate households willing to be connected like that. Now, nobody really used that information, which is actually, I think, what it's supposed to do. It's just there if you needed to ask for help or if you wanted to share resources. But thank goodness there was no neighbor that spam emailed the group or group texted every day. A couple of neighbors used it a couple of times to pool grocery shopping, and that's it. And the good news is that when we get back to normal, optimistically, we'll still have that connection to offer to share resources or to ask for help. Now, all of the responses I got from the notes I left obviously came via text or email. I did, however, get one response in the mail. I got a letter, arrived in my mailbox without a stamp, figure that out. And it was from a little 8-year-old boy who apparently is one of my neighbors. And he wrote me this note, and in it he talked about his life at home. He told me about his siblings. He told me about what sports he likes to play, and he even drew little pictures of them. This was very cute. And when I got done reading, I flipped it over, and on the back side, this is all it said. In conclusion, I'd just like to say, I'm not crying, you are. My name is Lovejoy, and if you believe this is my story, then vote for me by donating $5 to the Porchlight Project.
So this spring, while I was sheltering in place, I put up a clothesline in my backyard with the help of a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of swearing. I also put up shelves in my utility room. I became good at meal planning, and I learned about something called home beer delivery, which I like. All this, of course, happened later on in the spring after I started to get a little bit stir crazy. But before I did that, I did do one thing, a little project. I did some neighborhood canvassing. Basically, I went up and down my street, one side of the street and the other, and I just left my contact information and encouraged my neighbors to do the exact same thing, to share their contact information. It went pretty well. We wound up with sort of a database of 8 or 9 families who agreed to be connected. And you know, the thing is, no one actually used it, which in my mind was perfect. I did not want some gadfly, annoying neighbor continually bugging other people for little errands. A few people coordinated grocery trips, but mostly it was kind of a just in case. The upside being that when things return to normal, I believe, because I am an optimist, that these families are all going to stay connected. So all the responses I got, you can imagine I got texts, emails, a couple of phone calls. I did get one response in my mailbox, which showed up with neither postmark nor stamp. Go figure that one out. It was from an 8-year-old boy who lives on my street. He wrote to me all about his family and what he likes to eat and the sports he likes to play. It was very cute. He drew a couple of pictures. It was all in crayon. And when I finished reading it, I flipped the paper over. He did have one question for me. This was what it said. Yeah. Yeah, which was a particularly good question. So Jonah, who lives down the street from me, not really. So if you do believe, my name is Mark, and if you believe that this is actually my story, you can vote for me by donating $5 to the Vermont Rapid Response Artists Relief Fund. That's the Vermont Rapid Response Artists Relief Fund. Thanks so much.